Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito is under increased scrutiny over a second controversial flag. The New York Times reports another flag used by January 6th protesters was seen flying at Alito's vacation home last summer. The flag seen here is known as the Appeal to Heaven flag. It has, in general, been associated recently with a push for a more Christian-minded U.S. government and very strong opposition to left-leaning politicians. The New York Times previously reported an American flag was flown upside down at Justice Alito's Northern Virginia home shortly after the Capitol riots. This became a symbol of the Stop the Steal movement in the wake of the 2020 election. Alito claims his wife flew that flag upside down as part of a dispute with a neighbor that he says he was not involved in. Our Scott MacFarlane is on Capitol Hill. Scott, were there lots of conversations or just a few about this increasingly hot topic on the Hill today?
For part of this day, this dominated the conversation, Major, and it was a strange stew of reaction. This mixture of Democrats saying they're outraged that there's another flag controversy around Sam Alito, and Democrats acknowledging aloud for all to hear there's not much they can do about it. We talked to Sheldon Whitehouse, the Rhode Island Democrat who's been potentially the most forceful with his criticisms of Justice Alito, and he said, if you want to try to subpoena Justice Alito, if you want to try to pass new ethics rules, you need 60 votes, and he says there's just not a set of 9 Republican votes to be had on this issue. So we are in that phase we like to call the angry letter writing or sternly worded letter phase of the review by Congress. But take a listen to one Republican, John Cornyn, defending Sam Alito today, then Senator Whitehouse after that.
The people who are judges on the Supreme Courts have personal lives, they have families, and I don't think they're necessarily responsible for everything their families do or say. So I know Justice Alito, and I have confidence in him.
I think the question is, how many MAGA battle flags does a Supreme Court justice have to fly until the rest of the court takes it seriously?
Should he recuse? Should he recuse?
Absolutely. Of course he should.
It's worth reiterating the defense Sam Alito gave to that first upside-down U.S. Stop the Steal flag outside his Virginia home after January 6th. Said his wife was doing so amid some dispute with neighbors, that he had nothing to do with it. This new flag, this Appeal to Heaven flag outside his New Jersey home, as reported by the New York Times, Major Sam Alito has not responded to our request for comment, and our review shows he's made no public statements, nor is he required to.
And on that Appeal to Heaven flag, have we seen it in any of the video of January 6th? Has it been referenced in any of the cases related to prosecutions thereof, Scott?
It was recognizable from the videos released by the U.S. Justice Department of some vantage points of some parts of the mob on January 6th. You can see some of those flags, not just amid the mob, Major, but on the front lines, right there outside as the mob approached, they went past police. It has a deep history, that flag and that image. It dates back to George Washington. In fact, the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, has one of those flags outside his office. But what Democrats are saying unequivocally today, Major, in the Senate, is that that flag, whatever its history, has new connotations after January 6th because it was a prominent, illustrative part of what was being carried on January 6th. And they say there's going to have to be some explanation from Sam Alito how that type of flag with that type of connective tissue to January 6th would ever be outside any of his homes.
And in that context, Scott, when we're discussing the limitations that you just did of Senate Democrats doing or saying anything that is forceful or has real teeth in terms of subpoenaing a sitting Associate Supreme Court Justice or doing anything to change the ethics rules that apply to that institution, how about the politics of it? Do Republicans feel anything that they have to back away from in terms of these flags or representations that they may make or those who support those flags may make on their behalf?
It's a great question. I brought that same question to Senator Whitehouse earlier, and he said, you know, there may be some political implications as we get closer to November among an electorate that may be frustrated by the Supreme Court's ruling in 2022 overturning Roe versus Wade. But there's this acknowledgement that they can't really get anywhere through the powers of Congress. They can't even get that subpoena to Justice Alito to have him come answer questions. And I think ultimately, for members of Congress, if they want to make this a campaign issue, they may in the Senate, the Democrats may just have a vote on something about that code of conduct they proposed for the Supreme Court and let there be yeses and nos that they can amplify come November. It's also worth reiterating, Major, the Supreme Court has its own internal code of conduct, but unlike others in the federal government, it's the Supreme Court policing itself.
Scott MacFarlane, as always, thank you very much.